10 minutes. Each speaker will have 10 minutes.
Every success and every failure, there are a lot of multiple reasons, but there is a one fundamental reason. If that fundamental reason could not occur, then the success or failure could not happen. So we are talking here about the national security of Pakistan, and as General Yasin Malik mentioned, the terrorism is the only not reason. There are other reasons, but what I am going to present for your consideration is the fundamental reason. What is the foundation of Pakistan to existence as a state? So I was thinking one day that there are 200 countries on the globe. Why they not become one country? The answer was no, because each country, to being a country, has a foundation, and there are three types of foundation. The first one is territorial nationalism. So when a country has a history of thousands of years, like China, Korea, Japan, India, Iran, they have already foundation. And the second one is linguistic nationalism. The country can exist on this basis. Like in Europe, if you see there are 50 countries, they all have generally different languages. But the third one is constitutional nationalism. So the example is America. So America, in about 250 years before, they put together the Constitution, and that's why America is now superpower. So if we analyze Pakistan, so Pakistan don't have territorial nationalism. It is only 67-year-old. So Pakistan don't have a linguistic nationalism because we have 5 languages: Punjabi, Sindhi, Balochi, and Pashtun, and Kashmiri. So the only basis we have to exist is constitutional nationalism. So unfortunately, when Pakistan was born in 1947, so we don't have the constitution in place. So that's the reason, the absence of the constitution is the country was divided in 71 into 2. So the other reasons are minor, but the basic reason was absence of the constitution. The 56 and 62 constitutions are not the legitimate constitutions. So in 73, we have a constitution, but this constitution it did not perform well. It could not hold itself at the crisis, like in 1977, in 99, and in 2007. So there are some structural defects in the Constitution we have to reform. So, what are these defects? So I will say the Constitution don't have political justice. When the Constitution was written, the authors, they think the Pakistan is one nation, but there were 5 nations. They have to become one nation through a process. The social contract was not fair enough. So if you see, our parliament has almost about 25% nominations there. So they're all corrupted. So we don't have a direct elected Senate, and we have dummy Senate. Senate don't have any power. So we need to reform our constitution. I will suggest 5 different areas, which is number 1, executive reforms. Sorry, I have to a little bit explain the political justice. So let me go a little back. So in political justice is a term. Somebody told me it's not anywhere, but it's invented by me. Usually the word used political rights. But to present more my point of view, I make this classification that justice has as you know, three aspects, like political, economical, and social. But I make it as it has two levels also, national and international. So it becomes 6. So national political justice is a justice where the fundamental thing is the constitution. So I think that if a country has a constitution which is not compatible to the common sense and the collective wisdom of the people, the country will not be developed. So if you analyze all the countries which are developed, their constitutions are very compatible with the collective wisdom and the common sense of the people. So our constitution has to be reformed, and it should be approved by direct vote of the people of Pakistan. So it needs at least, out of 100 million registered voters, we need 50 million to have a stamp on it. So more than 50 million to get it approved. So if a country don't have a national political justice, they will not get all other justices. They will not get all other justices. So I will suggest 5 constitutional reform in different areas. One, in executive, we have to reform our parliamentary system. And second, we have to reform our executive and how we elect our prime minister, how we elect our chief minister, how we elect our mayor. And we have to have 51% vote, 2-round system. And there should be no nominations. There should no independent candidates. These all make to make the system corrupt. And secondly, we have to reform our judicial system. And the last one, if we look the map of Pakistan, can you move further? Here. So if you see, we have 3 areas where our constitution is not applied. I will say the discrimination to the people of that areas, like FATA, like northern area, like Azad Kashmir. So we have to have merge FATA to KPK and make one province. And we have to have created the 5th province of Kashmir as a provisional basis until the UN resolution is not settled. By that time, because we have 40% of Kashmir in Pakistan control, and India has only 45%, the rest 15% is with China. When we have 40% of the area, about 82,000 square thousand kilometer, we should make it as the 5th province of Pakistan, and we should cover our boundary. So I have asked to, my time is over, so that's it. Thank you.
You know, the responsibility to tell you to wind up, but I think your subject was extremely important. I think I don't have time to really sort of summarize what you said, because I don't know how much time we have. But in any case, I think probably what you said was that has to be a foundation for the existence of any country, and then you pointed out 3 things: territorial nationalism, linguistic nationalism, and constitutional nationalism. And I think the point you made was that keeping in view the dynamics of Pakistan, what we need to do is to have constitutional nationalism. And in that context, I think you explained the loopholes, or let's say the drawbacks in the 1973 Constitution, and then you probably made certain recommendations, and these were five different recommendations. Constitution is something which can always be amended, so we should not really feel hesitant in discussing and debating various provisions, and from time to time as the changes occur, we can always opt for certain amendments. So with this, I think I'm now going to invite Dr. Nazir Hussain, Professor of International Relations, School of Politics and IR, Qaid-e-Azam University, Islamabad, and his topic is radicalization and militancy, countering ideology and fighting terror.
Ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum. I don't want to stay between you and the good lunch, but since I have to stay here for 10 minutes, I'll speak something. But first and foremost, let me congratulate Rana Athar Saab for organizing this wonderful seminar. And believe me, my topic is very difficult, but I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Radicalization and militancy, countering ideology and fighting terrorism. I don't know at what time you selected this idea. It has 4 different aspects to deal with, but I'm sorry, in 10 minutes it's very, very difficult. Ladies and gentlemen, in terms of Pakistan national security, in the morning seminar, it was discussed and highlighted. 3 eminent politicians are sitting here. Do we really know what is national security interest of Pakistan? I don't think so. What is the national narrative? Do we have as a Pakistani a national narrative? Perception management. There's no perception management at all from the government to the downtown. I mean, there's nothing. And lastly, radicalization. I'm a part-time media person also, and my media people, please forgive me for that. Radicalism and militants ideology is being glorified by the media. So these are the 4 fundamental questions upon which I'm basing my argument. So in this vacuum, radical ideology flourishes when we don't have any national security interest, when we even don't know what is national security, when we don't know what is the perception management, and when the media glorifies the militancy and radical ideology, then definitely there is a political vacuum. We have wrong priorities. I don't want to go to the specifics, what is going on currently in Pakistan. You all know very well. I do not want to be biased. You can have your own judgments. Please forgive me. Makkah and Medina is not under attack. It's the Saudi regime, it's the Saudi government which is at attack. And how they are exploiting, this is radicalism. Whether you call it social radicalism, political radicalism, please, for heaven's sake, try to understand what is the national security interest of Pakistan. We are being fighting a 30-year war in Afghanistan, and you want another 30-year war in Yemen, which is not even a priority area. I'm sorry for this, but this is how you generate radicalism. The National Action Plan, which was conceived half-heartedly, it is still not being implemented 90%. And all those outfits who were supposed to be banned under NAP are today recruiting people to be sent to Saudi Arabia. And this is your national security interest. Forgive me for that. We don't have any comprehension. We lack direction, as I mentioned just now. So these all give way to radicalization and militancy. I've been teaching to my students that do we have a national narrative? To me and my understanding, we have 3 national narratives. 1947 to 1977, we were Muslims, but we had a secular outlook. We used to go to Makkah and Medina even then. But 77 to 9/11, we were Muslims, but we were trying to be converted to Muslims. I hope you are getting me. And then after 9/11, to date, Muslims are trying to become Pakistanis. I'm not talking about the current atmosphere. In current atmosphere, either we are pro-Saudis or we are pro-Iranians. We are not Pakistanis. That's a dilemma of us. And then this all lack of national narrative is making the Pakistanis confused, directionless, and divided. Imagine where people prefer private security, private schools, private hospitals, and private transport system. The government is totally absorbed of its all duties. I'm not saying to Nawaz Sharif government only, every government. Senator sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Many of you might not be knowing that Senator Jahangir Badr Sahab is PhD in history, and wherever I go in Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad, he is very well there, and we are welcome him to our community as well as an academic community. So, last 2 points, ladies and gentlemen. Pakistan is having a youth volcano. A youth volcano. Imagine, more than 50% population is below the age of 35. Unemployment is touching 20%. More than 6 million children are without schooling, and economic, social, and political deprivation. So this gives rise to the relative deprivation. And who exploits this? The radical ideologies and the militancy. And this vacuum and relative deprivation is being exploited by the radical elements in our society and from outside, as I mentioned just now. Moreover, the silent majority remains silent, as we are. And then only the think tank like this, Athar Sahab and many others, Ambassador Akram Zaki Sahab, we try to fill this vacuum, fill this gap. But are we doing just mere rhetoric, or it is reaching to the government? Or just we sit together, discuss, have good food and go away? And I think the rest is done by the media. It's up to them whether they highlight few issues or not. Jameel sir, I hope it will be on newspapers. Then the problem remains how to counter radical ideology and fight terrorism. Some of the armed forces personnel are sitting here. For me, fighting terrorism is easier and short term. But countering radicalism requires long-term, sustained and dedicated efforts. I would suggest triple C's: contain, control, and then counter. First, we have to contain the radicalism, and then control it, and then counter it. I've been saying to my students at Qadir University, National Defense University, Fatima Jinnah University, that it is important to deconstruct the ideas and then start the construction. If you start the construction on radical ideologies, then it will be radically used. So I think, to me, there need to be a national narrative first and foremost to build and counter the radical ideology. Deconstruction of ideology and then counter the ideology in the minds, hearts and souls of the people. The 4 questions which I raised earlier at the very outset need to be addressed with political will, seriousness and dedication. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for your kind patience.
I'm going to invite the next speaker, Dr. Azhar Ahmed. He's a retired Commander Naval Officer. He's going to speak to us on maritime security and external threats, capacity and challenges.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Chair, respected ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. Let me also begin by thanking and appreciating Rana Athar for providing us this opportunity to discuss this very important subject, though I'm not sure how he managed to dovetail maritime security with Zarbayaz, but nevertheless it explains his understanding of the importance of the maritime subject. There is not one person on earth that is not affected by the seas. And yet our understanding of this subject is probably the lowest. Whether in Pakistan we attribute this to the so-called continental mindset or the preponderance of army in policy and decision making, the fact is that we as a nation and as a country have suffered a great deal due to the ignorance and negligence of the maritime sector. We have recently got yet another opportunity in the name of Gwadar to undo our past mistakes and put the country on the track of development, and one can only hope that we do not squander it away. As you know, traditionally, the seas have been used as a source of food and transportation, and even today, these two uses of the sea remain foremost. But with improvements in science and technology, new vistas of opportunity are opening up in the maritime arena, increasing human dependence of the sea by every passing day. Already, more than 90% of global trade is routed through the sea, and this overwhelming reliance means diversity and clash of interests. And where there is clash of interest, there is security threat. So maritime security, ladies and gentlemen, relates to security issues pertaining to the sea, which could include interstate territorial disputes, political instabilities, transnational crimes such as maritime terrorism, piracy, human smuggling, drugs and arms trafficking, and even environmental degradation, etc., etc. While interdependence of states on each other's resources, products, and services, and increased mobility at sea have further compounded the problem, and the major issue of concern today for the global community is safety and security of the sea lines of communications, which simply means the sea routes. Man has always fought for resources. If you analyze most of the wars, particularly the recent ones, you will find one predominant motive, and I'm sure Colonel Cook will agree with me: access to or control over the resources, particularly the raw materials. And as the importance of a particular raw material increases, the theater of war shifts to that